So let's just take our time here for a moment. We're going to walk through this in a gradual way. And as we do, we're going to be aware of where you are during this conversation, because we want you to come along with us in this understanding. And as you do, you will find yourself in a new place of personal empowerment. So let's just play with this softly and have a good time. So let's start with the question about, am I thinking the thought or receiving the thought? And we just want to say right up front here that there is nothing new unto all of the universe, because everything is a continuation. And so if things are continuing, expanding, evolving, then of course there are thoughts that have been thought, and therefore because of thoughts that have been thought and the momentum that law of attraction then provides, that means that there are active thoughts. But the only thing that really matters in any moment in time is the active thought. It doesn't matter what you have thought before, and it doesn't matter what you will think later. All that matters is the thought that you are thinking now, because that thought that you are thinking now, and let's just use the word thinking to mean transmitting or receiving. Let's just use the word thinking to mean active thought. Yes? Now that's something to think about, isn't it? That's something to contemplate. What am I actively pulsating now? Now, it doesn't matter so much why, although we're going to have fun talking about that. It doesn't matter so much why you're thinking the thought. All that matters is that you're thinking. And it doesn't even matter so much from where it is being broadcast, because the deliciousness in creating your own reality, the deliciousness in co-creating, in co-thinking, is in establishing a vibrational stance, so that what you are receiving is something that has a lot of pure positive momentum. And then when your new thoughts join those thoughts, not only are you more powerful, but you feel more enlivened. You feel the momentum of the whole of that which is you. Did that sort of make sense to you? So let us offer some scenarios just so that you'll get the sense of what we're talking about. And then we want to dive into your questions. Let's say that in this example that you've decided that you understand what we just talked about, and you care about the vibrational thinking that you're doing, which means you care about what you're receiving and you care about what you're adding to it, because it's co-creating at its best. Yes? And so you didn't get too far in the day before you decided that you were going to pay attention to this, that you were going to focus. So you focused yourself into good feeling thoughts, maybe by basking, by selectively sifting in what was around you. That's easiest to do when you're alone, really. Or maybe you were in a beautiful place where what you observed took you there. Or maybe you quieted your mind and stopped resistant thought, stopped all thought, and your vibration was allowed by you to rise, and now you're in that place. It doesn't matter how you got there, but let's just say, for the sake of this analogy, that you are in that place of connecting to that high pure vibration. So you begin receiving thoughts. Now, as you're receiving thoughts, where might those thoughts be coming from? Well, in that state of being, you're receiving from your inner being. You're receiving from the you of you, the source energy you of you, the source energy you of you, who's always in step 5, who can dive into whatever it is that you're about, whether it's work or a situation or a question or a problem. Doesn't matter what it is. The you of you can look anywhere and maintain that pure positive energy, because that source energy you of you is dominantly in that place of no resistance. So we think it's a wonderful thing to be in a situation where you could be observing what you have formerly called a problem and not be pushing against the problem, because focusing on a problem activates a solution, and focusing on a problem and then activating the solution can take you into a place of real interest, real intrigue, real fascination. Stay with that word for just a moment. Fascination. The facets of the pure positive energy, facets of something, are already active within your inner being. And now, because of the placement that you deliberately focused yourself into, now you are tuned into that same energy. And now you and your inner being are together collaboratively going to take thought beyond that which it has been before. So now in this scenario, you got out ahead of it. You decided what you were going to set your tuner to. You decided what you were going to receive because you do know this. You know that law of attraction is going to respond to whatever vibration you establish in any point in time. So now what we've just established is you can set your tone, you can set your vibrational point of attraction, you can set it by something you're observing in your physical world, or you can set it by observing the vibrational nature of your inner being. If you set it by observing the vibrational nature of your inner being, now you are in a position, poised really, that wherever you now look, you're going to be able to stay with the tuning of who you really are. And now there's going to be evolution that is meaningful to you and satisfying to you no matter where else you look. We know you followed that. It sort of kind of makes sense. We know you'd like to do that, but now let's get practical. So here you are in your physical world, in your physical moment, and for whatever reason, you did not focus deliberately to get out ahead of anything. You just let life come to you based upon the vibrations that you've got going on. And so someone comes into your experience. It might be someone at work. It might be someone at home. It could even come across your media in some way, but something comes to you and it is problematic to you, meaning it has resistance within it, and you are now focused upon it. Now what just happened? This is the part that we want you to hear. You, under that condition, allowed your environment to set your tuner rather than your source energy to set your tuner. And you know how when you set your tuner with your radio dials, for example, whatever's being broadcast, when you set your tuner, that's what you pick up. So it is to your advantage to be at least aware of where your tuner is set. And we think that it is even a better idea to contemplate on a regular basis, maybe this is the best way to put this, who set my tuner? Or who influenced the setting of my tuner? This ornery person with this ornery problem, this person who always has a problem about everything all the time, did I let my observation of a moment in time where there was momentum already going, did I let that be the reason that my tuner got set? Because if I did, now that my tuner's set there, now I'm going to receive all kinds of things that are on that frequency. So anybody that feels sort of like that, the law of attraction is going to match me up with, because that's where I set my tuner and nothing else is logical. Now, as that happens, I may become increasingly uncomfortable, and I may decide that I'm going to do something about it, and I may decide that I'm going to walk away from that conversation or tune that conversation out, but it's not easy to do once momentum has ensued. And so what we would like to point out is that you've had a lot of now moments where you have deliberately or by default allowed your tuner to be set. And so you have experienced lots of things, and you've created lots of experiences that you often feel that you must own. In other words, I lived that, and I lived that, and I lived that, and even further you say, I am this, and I am this, and I am this. I'm not organized, I'm not good at this, I'm not prosperous, I'm not whatever. When you tune your radio dial and you receive an unpleasant conversation, if you're on one of your cable news channels or something like that, but when you tune those dials, you don't say, I am the essence of this conversation, I am broken in this way, or I am broken in this way, because you don't associate so tightly with it. And yet in that moment in time, you am that. I am. But we don't want you to give it a permanent title, and yet that's the way, as life touches you, you sort of do, because you're not taking into consideration that the reason that things continue as they do is because you continue to tune as you continue to tune. In other words, as you tune yourself to a frequency, and then life brings you, law of attraction brings you things that match it, you give yourself labels of not prosperous or not balanced or not good at something, or other more positive labels, where the way we would like you to approach it for a little while is, I've tuned to that. I've just tuned to that. Well, I'm tuned into that. Well, I'm tuned into that. Well, that's logical because I'm tuned to that, because it makes it feel to you, because it really is, it will give you more control. And so what we are suggesting is that since something's going to set your tuner. Now, what causes your tuner to be set? Your attention to it, your focus. Your focus upon something is what sets your tuner. So here's the question that we want to begin with here today. This is where we want to start, is, do you feel that it is easier to get out ahead of it and allow your tuner to be set by the dominance of who you are, or to allow your tuner to be set by the short-sighted moment in time that you've been living? We're just going to say this in a very blunt way. If any of you were to allow the source energy part of you to set your tuner, you would start every moment of conscious, deliberate focus in that direction, in a place of non-resistance and in a place of power, where the law of attraction, because of the absence of resistance, would gain momentum, and you would go from quiet contemplation to intense fascination in a very short period of time, which is the way that you intended to live your life. In other words, there is incredible power in an attitude or posture of non-resistance. So if you decide that you're going to allow your tuner to be set by who you really are, but what else could set your tuner? Life experiences, memories, conversations with other people, particular music that's playing in the air, or even a fragrance. There are so many things that you have lived before. You allow so many things to set your tuner because you are creating by default, which means sloppy thinking, rather than creating deliberately, which means deliberately tuning. We know, we watch Esther and her friends and her family, especially her daughter. They chew over things. It is so delicious to chew over things. And every single time, or nearly so, they make headway and they come out of the conversation feeling better for having had the conversation. But we want to say to all of you, it is so much easier for you to set your tuner to the frequency of who you are as source energy consciousness, rather than trying to justify or reestablish yourself through your physical format. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let's say that you walk into an environment and you have already set your tuner to who you really are. And these people are complaining about something, or maybe really struggling with something. Let's say that they roll into your experience in a conveyance that indicates their current handicap or illness. And you, from your tuning to source energy, see them roll in, but you're not set to that. So if they complain to you, you don't really hear it in that way. In other words, you do not contribute to, you do not join forces with, you do not add momentum to anything that is contradiction to the well-being that they are seeking. In fact, just in beholding them, you're already activated with the other end of their stick that they're not demonstrating. And so you don't have to run away from them, and you will never be a disadvantage to them, but you don't need to join them in their discomfort or their misery or their complaint or whatever it is. And if you have gotten out ahead of it, this is all we're saying. If you've gotten out ahead of it so that you're tuned to that source energy, you are less likely, in fact, usually not even likely, to go there with them in their plight or in their complaint or in their long list of examples of whatever it is that they have been dealing with. Does this make sense to you? And when you begin to feel this awesome power of non-resistant thought, you get hooked on it. You become addicted to, drawn to that tuning. And it's not like putting your head in the sand. It's not like withdrawing from life experience. We're not asking you to go off and meditate instead of get out there and live real life. We're just asking you to tune to your true resources, because whatever you give your attention to, whatever you are focused upon by law of attraction is going to gain momentum. It's just the nature of where you live. And so if you are steady as you make your movement into a moment in time, into your life experience, then you have some positive control about what happens next.